Mankind's post-COVID-19 evolution. Before an insidious coronavirus emerged, our world was ruled by obscene capitalism and greed, in which only a few owned everything, and the rest lived in desperate need. True, capitalism itself is positive because it rewards our ambition, but obscene capitalism demands growing profits as the only mission. So governments had little money for healthcare and education because Silicon Valley companies mastered Irish and Dutch taxation. We left behind the days when employees also owned their company, just as we allowed Big Pharma to profit from their callous opioid tyranny. Gigantic corporations grew bigger with their hyper-aggressive plans, with CEOs that made millions and laid off lads often left with empty hands. But it was also our fault because we all craved for meaningless toys. Even we knew they were manufactured by exploited third world boys. There was impunity for every structured finance trick, and even a bailout for the Wall Street bankers that sold CDO shit. So ironic corporate profits belonged only to shareholders, while Wall Street losses must be covered by the people's shoulders. Our rivers and skies grew dirtier because of many coal plants to power the manufacturing of all those fast fashion pants. We defended smoking as my body, my choice freedom, but did not foresee weak lungs burden ICUs like a very eerie demon. We were naive enough to believe Bush and Cheney's WMD con, and that was as depressing as seeing affordable tuition just completely gone. And surely children's lives grew messier, some because of phones, and others like in Syria, because of all those nasty bombs. Instead of caring about serious issues, we idolized the royal British family, for which the UK people wasted taxes to fund its hollow vanity. As we burned the Amazon, the global ecosystem balance broke, while in Mexico, people died from weapons financed with tons of snorted coke. Some drove around in cars and bikes, like those in the gig economy, because decent jobs disappeared, along with our financial autonomy. We shrank parks to please the wealthy with country clubs for golf, just as we pushed to starvation the polar bear and the timber wolf. We filled the seas with plastic waste and tanning lotion, and while coral reefs were dying, we just showed insincere emotion. All because plastic was so cheap and we loved such convenience. Pity it was in weapons development that we wasted so much brilliance. The world we lived in had many wealthy golfers driving a convertible and lots of millennials with low-paid jobs commonly expendable. Those who dared to protest inequality were often punished harshly, but we did nothing when Iraq was raped by a greed-fueled US Army. And we allowed the impunity of journalists murdering oil kings because our hypocrite politicians adored them above all things. We created the European Union to make democracy more effective, but ironically, its leaders were bureaucrats that no one got elected. Our selfish desire to live over 100 years fueled the destruction of an environment that we cried for with fake tears. We all expressed worry about global warming and the dying honeybee, but no one implemented environmental taxes on H&M and Airbnb. The vain elites flew to Davos on the luxury of a private plane, while Colombian rivers sucked the toxic waste from the northbound cocaine. And cost-saving animal cruelty fostered poor food hygiene that turned our world into an everyday virus lockdown Halloween. And in 2020, a novel virus came out of the blue. But at the beginning, even Harvard experts and Fauci didn't have a clue. Only some Chinese and Taiwanese doctors urged extreme caution, but the sycophantic WHO dismissed them due to political extortion. Just like a puppet UN allowed Iraq to be raped, so the WHO did not prevent the virus truth from being reshaped. Same happened with a sweaty British prince, whose pathetic denial of child rape failed to convince. And while the virus killed many seniors in Italy and Spain, a delusional president's advice to inject bleach proved to be insane. But we shouldn't blame him for everything as CNN loves to do, as it was under bullshit Obama that the wealth gap just ballooned. Taiwan got really lucky because Chinese tourists could not fly in, while some in Bel Air complained their mansion felt like a prison bin. But we gotta give credit to the Taiwanese for always wearing a mask, not like us stubborn Westerners that allowed the virus to spread fast. The novel virus surely was stronger than the common flu, but we should not have allowed racist thinking that it was Chinese voodoo. In fact, we are all guilty for allowing the mess that made this virus unique, because our own inequality and pollution made our lungs incredibly weak. Governments and central banks implemented broad stimulus, but no action on temporary rent relief was simply too ridiculous. So this crisis underscored the fact that those who own are resilient, and hope for those who cannot buy a home was truly non-existent. The worldwide lockdowns were a reflection of our gargantuan fear to die, because we forgot that life is so fragile and may fade in the blink of an eye. Let's face it once and for all, since mankind started with Adam and Eve. The truth is that life will go on, but maybe today, not for you and me. 1,000 lessons we learned with this inevitable pandemic. Number 1, that government's no accountability was simply too systemic. So we rooted out and punished every single act of corruption, starting with our own personal hypocrisy that allows the environment destruction. We outsmarted those immoral tax lawyer crooks, so that FANG giants could not hide their profits from accounting books. We even went further and broke up Amazon, Facebook, and Google, and America's entrepreneurship flourished after fast congressional approval. We learned to empower younger generations with real opportunities by stopping the obscene wealth gap created by our tax code stupidities. We finally understood that for young married people to have kids, we must unlock the huge untaxed wealth that in Ireland Apple hid. We learned to deprecate the waste of billions in weapons creation and to use those resources into infrastructure and education. Even in Taiwan, we shrank the billions wasted buying American F-16s because their conditional promise to protect freedom seemed a bit obscene. We the people learned that being responsible and wearing masks could avoid massive lockdowns and the firing of so many moms and dads. We learned to be consistent and to treat cigarettes and pot the same, because one being legal and the other illegal is hypocritical and lame. We finally understood drug consumers are as guilty as the dealers, because their money finances a global crisis that is getting much steeper. We learned to recognize meritocracy as the pillar of our society, so we abolished the British monarchy and all its fake morality. We learned to cherish life and a peaceful day in a park, but also that accepting death with altruism is how we leave our mark. We learned to put aside pride, petulance, and fear, and to put love and affection ahead of our career. We learned that everyone's health is also our main responsibility, so we reduced pollution with twice a week work-from-home activity. And many other health emergencies got in our way, but with clean air, strong bodies, and low inequality, we kept them